welcome to the 9th tutorial in the series on drawing the full figure. In this tutorial we'll be studying the garments worn by Imperial and other noble saints, such as St. Constantine and Helen, St. Catherine, St. Irene and others. In icons, the Emperor and Empress are depicted in the Laurus costume that would normally only be worn a few times a year on occasions like Pascha or Christmas. The male and female costumes are almost identical. They wear the stemma or crown that may be decorated with perpendulia, decorations that hang from the crown and took the place of earrings worn by the early Christians. Around the neck they wear the superhumeral, a decorative collar that was studded with precious jewels. The tunic also has decorated cuffs or epimanikia and a decorative band at the bottom. The costume is characterized by the laurus, a long narrow embroidered cloth decorated with jewels that hung down both the front and the back. The back part was then wrapped around the waist and hung over the left arm. Up until the 9th century, the empress essentially wore the same form as the emperor, but then a new style appeared and the hanging end became much broader, and in some icons it looks like a round-topped shield tapering to a point at an oblique angle. The style later reverted to being the same as the male laurus. This garment was also worn by the 12 most important officials and the imperial bodyguard, which is why angels are sometimes depicted in similar garments as their guardians. The style was also copied by upper-class women, which is why we see the likes of St. Catherine also wearing them. So now that we've got a basic overview of the garments, let's get to drawing them. In this tutorial, we'll draw two saints. First, St. Constantine, who typically wears the laurus costume that is similar for both men and women. Then we will draw St. Theodora, who played a pivotal role in the restoration of the holy icons and brought an end to iconoclasm. Because she lives in the 9th century, she most probably wore the new style with the broad laurus. That said, in iconography, we will sometimes see the style depicted anachronistically in saints who lived well before the 9th century, like St. Catherine or St. Helen. Because these icons have a lot of straight lines, it's probably a good idea to start off by warming up, loosening up your arm and drawing straight lines from the shoulder, not from the wrist. If you try and draw from the wrist, you're very limited in how long you can draw a line and it'll end up getting wobbly. So warm up by drawing long lines from the shoulder. As you can see, I've already made the basic layout of the figure so that I'm not repeating the same thing that you already know. The figures of emperors tend to be fairly static in their pose. They're not usually posed on an S curve or on a curved axis. So in order to give it a bit of movement, we're going to make the garment come up like this, because the laurus costume in and of itself is quite static because it has the long vertical lines. And we're going to see how we're going to bring it to life as well, so that it's not too static. So we're going to start off from over here and we'll give him a high collar as part of the superhumeral. And it may have decorative parts over here. The emperor's tunic will usually have narrow sleeves, but it isn't always the case in icons. Here we have the decorative epimanikia. tunic coming down like this. This is where the knee will be. And we need to give this leg some volume. Here's our leg coming at this angle. And it has the decorative band over here. I don't like the angle that's coming in. Okay, and then we're going to draw in the loros. Unfortunately, my drawing board is not the best thing for drawing straight lines on, because there's a funny bump in the middle and it makes the lines go all over the place. And then we get rid of some of the detail that we've drawn in over here. And then we have the back part that comes around the waist over here. And if we were to make it come around like this, we'd have a static cross shape. So we're going to draw it at a transverse angle. Coming like this. And over the shoulder like that. Sorry, over the arm. And you see, it's best to draw the straight part of the loris first before trying to draw this, so that you're not trying to draw the line and then continue the same line. Get it out the way and then draw this part over it and just erase what you don't want to be there. filling in folds at the top. And have this hand pointing towards the cross. And this hand holding the cross. As I said, this drawing board does not like straight lines. Now, I won't get into all the detail of the decorations, but it's good to use our axis line as a starting point. And here we'll usually have pearls, but I'm not going to waste the entire tutorial filling in pearls. Okay, so now let's get on to the stemma or crown. Now, as you'll see here, I've drawn the hair slightly narrower than if I were going to just draw the hair or on women a hairdress. And there are various ways of doing it. You can either have some of the hair showing and the crown higher up, or as I will do here, we'll have the crown halfway down the forehead over here. And in this case of St. Constantine, we will draw him a crown like this. There are various styles of crowns that you can study different icons to get ideas. But in this case, we'll do them like this. And we'll join his face. And then we have his shoes. And the Emperor's shoes were red. It's one of the characteristics of the Imperial shoes is that they were red. So there we have the basic Loris costume worn by the Emperor. Okay, so the second icon we're going to draw is Saint Theodora. Again, I'll point out the hair, we've drawn it slightly narrower than if we were drawing the Malfurion. The neck on a woman is slightly narrower than on a man. Here, this hand is going to be pointing towards the icon of Christ. In this arm, she's going to be holding the icon and her fingers are going to be over here, holding it. The icon will come in over here. And what's characteristic of the woman's Loris costume is it usually has long sleeves that will come down like this. So let's start. So again, we'll start with a superhumoral, but this time we won't make it a high neck. It'll be coming around like this. The high back collar basically. And we'll have the long sleeve coming like this, hanging over her arm. And it's going to have a decorative band over here. And the inner sleeve with split sleeves come over here. And we'll have some hanging folds. I'll just shade this in so that they can be distinguished. Tunic coming down like this. give it a bit of movement at the bottom. We're not going to see the knee or anything over here because of the loros. We'll get the band in. And we'll draw the front part of the loros. And then the part that looks like a shield will come around like this. And we can get rid of everything over here. And it will have a decorative band around it, usually. And often it will have a cross on it. And the cross would also usually be decorated with jewels. And have his shoes sticking out the bottom. Again, when we're painting, they'll probably be red. We'll have the sleeve just coming out like that. And here, Cynthia holds an icon of Christ in her hand. You can see the tutorial on drawing the half figure of Christ. See how to draw that. And here you will have her hand pointing towards the Gospel book. Sorry, not the icon of Christ. And now we're going to draw her crown, and again we're going to have it come in halfway down the forehead, and out at an angle like that, and these lines create a triangle that brings the attention to the face. We've got to keep in mind when drawing the crown that we're going to have the halo around, so we don't want to make it too big so it sticks out the top. Keeping in mind where our axis line is. And we're going to have her wearing a veil under the crown to get rid of some of the detail over here. And we'll draw in her face. And we're going to add in some perpendulia, the jewels that hang from the crown. There'll usually be 2 or 3 strings of them. And there we have the basic garments of an empress. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Till next time, keep drawing.